when diplomacy becomes a weapon. Crystalline towers of the Galactic Council gleamed under the artificial suns of Station Alpha 7, casting rainbow reflections across the vast assembly hall. Representatives from 43 different species sat in their designated sections, each area specially designed to accommodate their unique physiological needs. The air hummed with translation devices working overtime, converting thousands of different languages and communication methods into a single, unified understanding. Council leader Zephyr Kane stood at the central podium, her crystalline form shifting colors as she spoke. The Arcturian's voice resonated through both sound and light, a beautiful symphony that had calmed diplomatic tensions for over 2 centuries. Today, however, her colors were darker, more serious. Fellow council members, Zephyr began, her crystalline facets catching the light. We gather today to discuss the human question that has been postponed for far too long. A ripple of interest passed through the assembly. In the far corner, military advisor Brutus Vex shifted his massive frame. The Titan Prime warrior stood nearly 3 meters tall, his scarred hide bearing the marks of 100 battles. His species had conquered 17 star systems before joining the council, and his tactical expertise was respected throughout the galaxy. The humans, Brutus growled, his voice like grinding stone, have been members of this council for 57 standard years. In that time, they have shown a consistent pattern of weakness that concerns many of us. In the human section, Ambassador Sarah Chen sat perfectly still. The 50-year-old woman appeared unremarkable compared to the exotic aliens surrounding her. Average height, graying hair pulled back in a simple bun, wearing the plain blue uniform of Earth's diplomatic corps. She had served as humanity's primary representative for 15 years, and in all that time, she had never raised her voice, never issued threats, never walked out of a session in anger. Please elaborate, Advisor Vex, Zephyr requested, her colors shifting to a more neutral blue. Brutus activated a holographic display that filled the center of the chamber. Star maps appeared, showing various sectors of human-controlled space. Red markers indicated points of conflict, while green showed peaceful resolutions. Observe the pattern, Brutus continued. 57 years ago, the Keltharian Empire seized the Proxima system from human control. The humans' response: they filed a formal complaint and accepted mineral rights as compensation. 32 years ago, the Zarathon Collective annexed 3 human research stations. Again, the humans chose negotiation over retaliation. The hologram shifted, showing more recent events. Just last year, when the hegemony of Scales blockaded human trade routes for 6 months, causing significant economic damage, the humans responded by offering the hegemony preferred trading status in exchange for passage rights. Murmurs rose from various sections of the assembly. The Drachmarie representative, an insectoid creature with compound eyes, clicked his mandibles disapprovingly. Such weakness invites further aggression. In my culture, this would be seen as an invitation for conquest. Sarah Chen finally spoke, her voice calm and measured. If I may address the council. Zephyr's colors shifted to show acknowledgement. The floor recognizes Ambassador Chen. Sarah rose slowly, her movements deliberate and controlled. She had learned early in her diplomatic career that aliens often interpreted human body language incorrectly. Quick movements suggested aggression to some species, while stillness implied submission to others. She had perfected a middle ground that seemed to work across cultures. Honored representatives, Sarah began, humanity has indeed chosen peaceful resolutions to conflicts We believe that war should always be the last option, used only when all other alternatives have been exhausted. Our history has taught us the true cost of violence. Brutus snorted, a sound like falling boulders. Your history? Humans are barely 3 centuries into space travel. What could you possibly know about the costs of war that species like mine, who have fought for millennia, do not understand? Sarah's expression didn't change, but something flickered in her eyes. Our history may be shorter than yours, Advisor Vex, but it has been remarkably intense. We have learned much about conflict in our brief time as a species. The Arcturian Council. Leaders' colors shifted to show curiosity. Please, expand on this, Ambassador Chen. Earth's history is filled with conflicts that escalated beyond all reason, Sarah explained. Wars that started over resources became wars of ideology. Wars of ideology became wars of extinction. We developed weapons capable of destroying our entire planet, and we came very close to using them. She paused, letting this sink in. We learned that the only way to truly win a war is to ensure it never starts. This is why we choose diplomacy, negotiation, and compromise. Not because we are weak, but because we understand the alternative. The Vorthan representative, a being of pure energy contained within a metallic suit, pulsed with what appeared to be amusement. Noble words, Ambassador, but words do not defend territories. Words do not protect trade routes. Your species has been fortunate that your neighbors have been relatively peaceful. But what happens when you face a truly aggressive opponent? Before Sarah could respond, an emergency alert echoed through the chamber. The holographic display immediately shifted to show a live feed from the outer rim of human space. The Meridian Research Station, a massive orbital facility dedicated to xenobiology research, was under attack. The assembled representatives watched in silence as hegemony warships surrounded the station. The facility housed over 500 human scientists and their families, along with researchers from a dozen other species. It was officially neutral territory, protected under 17 different galactic treaties. This is Fleet Commander Gorthak of the Hegemony of Scales, a harsh voice announced over the communication channel. The Meridian Station has been conducting illegal weapons research. We are claiming this facility and all its contents under the right of military necessity. The transmission cut to show the station's interior, where human and alien scientists were being herded into containment areas by armed hegemony soldiers. Children could be seen among the captives, their faces filled with terror. Brutus Vex leaned forward, his massive frame tensing. This is a clear violation of Council law. The Meridian Station is under the protection of the Neutral Research Accords. Zephyr's crystalline form darkened with anger. Commander Gorthak, you will withdraw. Your forces immediately. The hegemony has no authority to seize neutral research facilities. The response came in the form of weapons fire. The Council watched helplessly as the hegemony ships opened fire on the station's defensive systems. Explosions bloomed across the facility's hull, and emergency lights began flashing as life support systems failed in several sectors. All eyes turned to Sarah. Chen, this was the moment that would define how the galaxy viewed humanity. Would they finally show some backbone, or would they once again choose the path of negotiation and compromise? Sarah stood slowly, her face a mask of control. She activated her personal communication device and spoke clearly into it. Priority. Alpha transmission to Earth Command. Authorization Chansivan Delta. The Meridian Accord has been breached. Repeat, the Meridian Accord has been breached. She closed the device and sat back down, her expression unchanged. Brutus stared at her in disbelief. "That's it. You're not even going to demand immediate withdrawal, not going to threaten sanctions, not going to call for emergency action." Sarah looked at him with what might have been pity. "Advisor Vex, you misunderstand the situation. I was not calling for help. I was giving a warning." Before anyone could ask what she meant, the holographic display flickered and changed. Instead of showing the ongoing attack on Meridian Station, it began displaying energy signatures from across human space. Massive power sources were coming online simultaneously across hundreds of systems. The Vorthan representative pulsed rapidly, their energy readings spiking with what appeared to be excitement or fear. Those energy signatures, ... they're enormous. What are the humans activating? Sarah finally allowed herself a small smile, something we hoped we would never have to use. The display zoomed in on a system at the edge of human space, showing what had appeared to be a routine asteroid mining operation. But as the sensors focused, the truth became clear. The asteroids weren't being mined, they were artificial constructs. Massive installations built to look like natural formations. One by one, the fake asteroids began to unfold, revealing themselves to be enormous military installations, weapons platforms that could destroy entire fleets, defensive systems that could shield entire star systems, manufacturing facilities capable of producing warships at an unprecedented rate. "Impossible," breathed the Drakmari representative. "How long have these installations been in place?" 73 years, Sarah replied calmly. "We began construction shortly after achieving faster-than-light travel. Every asteroid mine, every research station, every trade depot in human space has a secondary function." The display continued to reveal the truth. Throughout human territory, installations were revealing their true nature. Mining ships transformed into carriers. Research stations deployed weapon systems. Even civilian transports began broadcasting. Military identification codes. Zephyr's colors flickered rapidly between confusion and alarm. But why? Why build such massive military capabilities while maintaining a facade of weakness? Sarah's expression grew sad. "Because we know what happens when humans go to war," Council Leader Kane. "We know what we become when we stop holding back." The chamber fell silent, except for the hum of life support systems and the quiet translation devices. On the display, the true scope of human military preparation became clear. Not just ships and weapons, but an entire infrastructure built for war. Supply lines, communication networks, strategic reserves, all hidden in plain sight for nearly 3/4 of a century. "The Meridian Accord," Sarah continued, her voice barely above a whisper, "was our promise to ourselves. As long as no one touched our children, our researchers, our innocent civilians, we would maintain the illusion of weakness. We would continue to negotiate, to compromise, to accept losses rather than reveal what we had built." She looked directly at the hegemony's empty seats. Their representatives had not attended this session, but the communication feed was still active. "Commander Gorthak, you have just learned why humans truly fear war, not because we might lose." Sarah's voice hardened for the first time in 15 years, "but because we know exactly how to win." The beast humanity kept caged. The silence in the Galactic Council chamber stretched for nearly a full minute before the first ship appeared on the tactical display. It emerged from what had appeared to be empty space just outside the Meridian research station, its hull reflecting no light, invisible to all senses until it chose to be seen. The ship was unlike anything in the galactic databases. Where most species designed their vessels with curves and artistic flourishes, this human warship was purely functional, angular, efficient, and somehow deeply unsettling in its complete dedication to destruction. Identification: unknown vessel. Commander Gorthak's voice crackled over the communication channel. Though uncertainty had crept into his previously confident tone, the response came not from the ship, but from Ambassador Sarah Chen in the council chamber. That is the UES Prometheus. Commander Gore. She is the first of humanity's Peacekeeper-class dreadnoughts. Captain Alina Rodriguez is her commanding officer. A new voice filled the chamber, calm and professional, with just a hint of a Spanish accent. Commander Gorthak, this is Captain Rodriguez. You are in violation of 17 galactic treaties and 43 human legal codes. You have 30 seconds to withdraw your forces from Meridian Station. The Hegemony Commander's response was predictable. You face 12 ships of the Hegemony battle fleet, human. Your single vessel is outnumbered and outgunned. Withdraw, or we will add your ship to our salvage collection. Sarah Chen closed her eyes, as if in pain. Captain Rodriguez, you are authorized to implement Protocol 7. Understood, Ambassador. All stations, implement Protocol 7. No human lives are to be lost today. What happened next redefined every species' understanding of warfare. The human dreadnought didn't fire weapons. Instead, it broadcast a signal that seemed to reach into the very electronics of the Hegemony ships. One by one, their vessels simply went dark, engines stopped, weapons powered down, life support switched to emergency backup. In less than 10 seconds, 12 state-of-the-art Hegemony warships had been reduced to floating metal shells. Brutus Vex stared at the display in shock. How is such a thing possible? Sarah opened her eyes, and for the first time in 15 years of diplomatic service, she allowed her true personality to show. The gentle, accommodating ambassador was gone, replaced by someone who had clearly spent years in military command before accepting her diplomatic posting. Advisor Vex, your species conquered 17 star systems using brute force and superior firepower. The Drakmari built their empire through overwhelming numbers and rapid reproduction. The Keltharians succeeded by being more ruthless than their enemies. She paused, studying each representative in turn. Humans built our strength by being smarter than everyone else. The tactical display zoomed in on one of the disabled Hegemony ships. Through its transparent aluminum viewports, they could see Hegemony soldiers floating in zero gravity, their faces pressed against the glass as they tried to understand what had happened to their vessel. For 73 years, Sarah continued, every diplomatic trade agreement, every cultural exchange, every peaceful negotiation has served dual purposes. Yes, we genuinely wanted peace and cooperation, but we also wanted to study you, your technology, your tactics, your weaknesses. Captain Rodriguez's voice came through the speakers again. Hegemony vessels, your ships are now completely under our control. Your crews are unharmed, and life support will remain operational. However, you are no longer capable of threatening anyone. The display showed the Meridian Research Station, where human security forces were moving through the corridors with impossible speed and precision. The Hegemony soldiers who had been terrorizing scientists and civilians just minutes before were now unconscious on the floor, subdued by weapons that had somehow passed through their armor without leaving a mark. Stunner technology, Sarah explained, noting the confused expressions around the chamber. We've had it for 40 years, but we've never had reason to use it. It renders any carbon-based life form unconscious without permanent harm. Works on every species we've tested it on. The Vorthan representative pulsed rapidly, their energy readings spiking. You've tested it on our species. When? How? Sarah's smile was neither kind nor cruel, simply Ambassador Vaxdai. Do you remember the food poisoning incident at the Kepler-7 Trade Summit 15 years ago? The one that left you unconscious for 6 hours while our medical team treated you. The energy beings pulsing stopped entirely. That was a field test. We needed to understand how your species' unique energy-based physiology would react to various neural disruption frequencies, Sarah confirmed. The test was successful. You never experienced any lasting effects, and we gained valuable data. Everyone benefited. The chamber erupted in shocked conversations across dozens of languages. The translation devices struggled to keep up with the volume of outraged voices. Zephyr Kane's crystalline form shifted through a rapid spectrum of colors, expressing disbelief, anger, and something that might have been admiration. Ambassador Chen, are you telling us that humanity has been studying our weaknesses for 7 decades while pretending to be weak yourselves? Not pretending, Sarah corrected firmly. We are weak, Council Leader Kane. Humans are individually weaker than most species in this chamber. We have shorter lifespans, limited natural abilities, and a disturbing tendency toward self-destruction. We chose to appear diplomatically weak because we knew that if the galaxies saw our true capabilities, they would unite against us out of fear. The display changed again, showing the broader tactical situation. More human ships were appearing throughout hegemony space, not attacking, simply making their presence known. Each ship broadcast the same message. Hegemony forces, you have attacked civilians under galactic protection. Withdraw immediately or face the consequences. But we're not weak in the ways that matter for survival, Sarah continued. We're adaptable. We learn quickly. We plan for contingencies that most species never consider. And when we're forced to fight, we fight to end the conflict permanently. Brutus Vex leaned forward, his warrior instincts finally grasping the scope of what he was witnessing. This isn't just military preparation. This is strategic thinking on a scale I've never encountered. How long have you been planning for this scenario? Since first contact, Sarah replied without hesitation. Every human diplomat, trader, scientist, and tourist who has interacted with other species has been gathering intelligence, not for conquest, but for protection. We learned early that the galaxy contains species far more aggressive than humans have ever been. The Drakmari representative clicked his mandibles nervously. Our species has existed for millions of years. We have conquered hundreds of worlds. How could you possibly understand us better than we understand ourselves? Sarah activated her personal display, showing detailed biological and psychological profiles of every species in the Council. Representative Jakai, your species has individual consciousness, but collective decision-making patterns influenced by pheromone cascades. By introducing specific aromatic compounds into council chambers during negotiations, we've been able to subtly influence your species' group dynamics toward more peaceful resolutions. The insectoid representative's compound eyes widened. The pleasant sense in diplomatic areas, ... carefully designed to promote cooperation and reduce territorial aggression in Drakmari psychology, Sarah confirmed. It's completely harmless, and actually improves your species' mental health by reducing stress hormones. Another situation where everyone benefited. The chamber had gone silent again as the representatives absorbed the implications of what they were learning. On the tactical display, the hegemony fleet was in full retreat, their remaining ships fleeing human space at maximum speed. Captain Rodriguez's voice returned to the speakers. Meridian Station is secure. All hostiles have been neutralized without casualties. Station personnel are safe and returning to their duties. Thank you, Captain, Sarah replied. Then she addressed the council directly. What you've witnessed today is the smallest possible demonstration of human military capability. We disabled 12 ships and secured 1 research station. We did so without firing a single destructive weapon, without killing a single enemy, and without violating any galactic law regarding the use of necessary force. She paused to let this sink in before continuing. If the hegemony had chosen to escalate further, if they had harmed innocent civilians or continued their aggression, you would have seen what human warfare really looks like. We've spent 73 years preparing for that possibility. Kane's colors had stabilized into deep blues and purples, indicating serious contemplation. Ambassador Chen, what do you want from us? What is humanity's true goal in joining the galactic community? For the first time since the crisis began, Sarah's expression softened. What we've always wanted, Council Leader Kane, peace, cooperation, and mutual prosperity. We don't want to conquer anyone or prove our superiority. We want to be part of a galactic civilization where conflicts are resolved through negotiation and understanding. But we also want to ensure that peace isn't mistaken for weakness, she added, her voice hardening slightly. Today's demonstration was necessary because the hegemony chose to test our resolve. They learned that humans don't fear war because we might lose. We fear war because we know exactly what we're capable of when we stop holding back. The tactical display showed the final hegemony ship jumping to hyperspace, fleeing toward their home territory. Throughout the galaxy, human installations were powering down their weapon systems and returning to their civilian appearances. The choice now belongs to the Galactic Council, Sarah concluded. You can continue to work with us as partners, understanding that our commitment to peace comes from strength, not weakness. Or you can see us as a threat that needs to be contained. She looked around the chamber, making eye contact with each representative in turn. But understand this. Humanity's greatest strength isn't our technology or our strategic thinking. Our greatest strength is our unity. When humans are threatened, every human becomes a soldier. When human civilians are endangered, every human becomes a protector. What you saw today was the response of a single ship to a relatively minor incident. If any species ever threatens human civilians on the scale that the hegemony attempted today, they won't face a single dreadnought. They'll face every human ship, every human installation, and every human citizen in the galaxy working together, with a single purpose. The chamber remained silent for a long moment before Zephyr Kane spoke, her crystalline form shifting to colors that indicated respect and understanding. I believe, she said carefully, that the Galactic Council owes humanity an apology. We misjudged your species' commitment to peace as weakness rather than recognizing it as wisdom. Sarah smiled, and once again she was the gentle, accommodating diplomat the Council had known for 15 years. No apology necessary, Council Leader. Today we all learned something valuable. True strength isn't about who can cause the most damage. True strength is knowing when not to use the power you possess. She stood to address the assembly one final time. Humanity remains committed to peaceful resolution of conflicts. We will continue to negotiate, to compromise, and to seek understanding above all else. But we will never again allow anyone to mistake our preference for peace as an inability to defend ourselves. As the emergency session ended and representatives began filing out of the chamber, the message was clear throughout the galaxy. Humanity had not been hiding because they were weak. They had been hiding their strength because they understood the responsibility that came with it. The age of underestimating humanity was over. Asterisk.